All right. It's quite simple, folks. It's quite simple. If you vote, you're a fool. You're a sucker. You're a lemming. You're a stooge. You don't know what's going on. That's the reality. That's the fact. It's true. It's why I've only voted once in my life, and that was about 30 years ago, right? Approximately. First time and last time, only time you had a choice, a real choice, and that was for Ross Perot. Ross Perot, who was against NAFTA, free trade. And so, of course, every year, Americans line up to vote. And they're brainwashed by their media to make them think they have a choice. They give them different candidates. And they're all full of shit. They're going to tell you this and promise this. Never really happens. The main point is that nothing really happens to improve your life. This is why you've got Kamala Harris and Zion Don. All they care about is serving the interest of their donors, of their contributors. You know who runs everything? Corporations, banks, and Israel. That's just fact. If you don't see that by now, you're fucking blind. Okay? I'm not going to get into the dynamics of how Israel controls America. It's not just through their lobby, AIPAC, but ask yourself where that money's coming from. In part, that money to fund Israeli Political Action Committee is coming from U.S. taxpayers. That's right. That's true. The American Israeli Political Action Committee, AIPAC, that's the Israeli lobby that buys and pays for all the politicians in America. That's fact. Irrefutable fact. Why do you think your tax dollars are going to support the Israeli military in an unnecessary, atrocious, ridiculous genocide? Of course, this is not the only time. For you kids out there, this has been going on for fucking more than 50 years. I don't really care a whole lot about Israel or all the other countries in the Middle East. No offense. But take care of your own fucking business. America's got too many problems as it is. Ask yourself why these politicians in Washington are sending hundreds of billions of fucking dollars, and been doing it, actually trillions of fucking dollars, to fight useless wars that mean nothing to America or Americans for many, many, many years. Meanwhile, U.S. debt is at pretty worrisome levels. And most Americans aren't doing that great, considering America is the only world superpower, considering that America's got the strongest economy, it leads the world in just about everything imaginable that's positive. Ask yourself why you've got so many people in America driving for Uber and Uber Eats and struggling. It's because of these fucking criminals in Washington. That's why. Wake the fuck up. It ain't going to change. If you're young, I'm going to vote. Yeah, I'll change it. Go and ask some old motherfuckers who've been around long enough to finally have figured out it doesn't matter. Or you can ask someone younger like me who exposed the country 20 years ago. My famous book was banned before it even hit the press. didn't want to publish it, America's Financial Apocalypse, which not only predicted the exact details of the 2008 financial crisis in advance and allowed anybody who read it to make a fucking fortune easily, in many ways, but also exposed so many things which are even relevant today. And then you'll know, once you read that book, the extended version, the 2006 version, why I've been banned. Folks, ask yourself this question. For those of you who are, well, if you're pessimistic, you know, because there's going to be, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of haters out there. You see, remember, folks, if you're speaking the truth, you're not going to make too many friends. Because if you're really speaking the truth, you're not selecting a few here and there. You're exposing the whole fucking shebang. And what that means, unfortunately, is that there's not a whole lot of good things to say about too many people in the world today. There's not. That is to say, in terms of the people that you listen to and you see. Remember, those with the exposure are not on your side. Wake the fuck up and figure it out. They have the exposure for a good reason, dummy. Got it? People like me have zero exposure. You know why? You understand now why? Got it? Wake up. It's pretty fucking simple. And everyone out there who you think is on your side, they got a lot of exposure. I can guarantee you they're there to fuck you. I've been living this, seeing it over and over again for many, many, many years. It's pretty obvious to me. Okay? And so think about it for a second. And once again, most important thing you can do for your life is to understand my track record. Not just in finance and investments. That's a pretty good start. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of aptitude in the investment world, which most people don't have, to really, truly understand, comprehend, and appreciate it, because you don't just look at the track record. You look at what everyone else was doing and saying. You understand. How can you determine, assess my track record, say, on the financial crisis, if you don't know what the fuck was going on? If you don't know what everyone else was writing about, saying, and doing? You understand? That's why I say anybody out there who claims to have predicted the financial crisis, or media claims they did, find the proof. Show me the proof. Show yourself the proof. There's no fucking proof. It's all one big fucking lie. It's a huge fucking lie. Okay? But of course, most people, if they wanted to take the time and effort to engage in such a project, well, if you're going to do that, you're probably not in the situation that you are today. That is, being misguided and misled towards the path of shit. You understand what I'm saying? If you were responsible enough to do that in the first place, that is to say, look into who I am and anyone else who you're going to listen to, you probably wouldn't have your head in the fucking gutter to begin with, because you wouldn't be following a bunch of idiots. You wouldn't be on ScamTube. You wouldn't be using your dumb phone all the time. You see, it's a mindset thing. But you can change. You can certainly change. You can get out of the bad habits. But the point is this. Even if you don't know the fact that I'm one of the top investment analysts in the world, probably the best, single best. I don't know who's better, but certainly one of the top. Predicted the financial crisis and did so more accurately, with more detail, comprehensiveness than anybody in the world. I don't know anyone who else predicted it, to be honest with you. Nobody. But Ask yourself the question, even if you don't know any of this stuff, you doubt it all. Worst case scenario. Clearly, though, I obviously have a lot to say. Obviously, pretty well informed on a lot of things. And Wall Street Insider. So ask yourself why even, let's say, the so-called alternative media guys, the conspiracy guys, wouldn't want to talk to me. You think they'd want to talk to me, right? The conspiracy guys, after all, they're always trying to find something bad, right? The economy's bad. Stock market's going to crash. This and that, right? Well, surely they can find something from me. Talk about the reality of America's healthcare system, right? The reality of free trade, things that are not good, because alternative media wants to spin that into buy gold, get out of the stock market, buy our fucking canned goods for the apocalypse. You understand? But guess what, folks? Because take a look at the people they have in the alternative media. They're a bunch of fucking quacks. They'll get anybody who will do their bidding for them. But I've been banned by everyone. Think about that one. You understand what I'm saying? Everyone has banned me. Why is that? Ask yourself why. Part of the problem in really appreciating that is understanding the lack of credibility of everybody out there. Most of the people that they interview are like crackpots. Remember, and I don't like to brag, but I mention things to give you some perspective, because I can tell you I never even mentioned this in my life. I never talked about this stuff. It wasn't even on my website until people want to attack me and try and discredit me. And what I want to talk about is, for instance, I'm an Ivy League graduate. I'm a National Science Foundation research fellow. They paid me money. The National Science Foundation paid me money to do research. They gave me a scholarship. Okay? You understand? Worked on Wall Street. So, I mean, just that alone is good enough credentials to be credible. Not even getting into the details of what I've done as an investment analyst. Yet I'm banned by everybody, and have been now all this time. Why is that, folks? Why? Because they don't want the truth. Okay? You understand? They're all frauds out there, and they're all fooling you. I'm telling you. You see, the way it works is that no matter what your position is on something, there's going to be some fucking crackpot or con man out there to give you the fix, to give you your fix of what you need, what you want to hear. You got it? And it's just like these elections where they get people to vote. You'll notice what they do is they'll enlist the services, they'll pay Hollywood pop culture people to endorse them, to speak on their behalf. Why? Because the whole election is not even, it's just like a Hollywood fucking production. And people end up voting just because they want to feel like they belong to a group. They don't question, or at least sufficiently, many of the issues that they don't even agree with, but they know that they're a Democrat or they're a Republican. They don't question some of the issues. They identify themselves as a Democrat, and they don't stop and think, wait a second, is it smart? Does it make sense for me to want to support for a war that has nothing to do with America? If anything, Europe should be concerned about Ukraine, Russia, not America. Same thing with Israel, right? But people, they just blow past that stuff. You understand? When you associate yourself with a political party, you're becoming a fucking stooge, a lemming, a dipshit, because you don't protest some of these issues. You identify with the Democratic Party or Republican Party. And you'll notice, regardless who's in office, they're all going to support Israel. And this is the way it's always been. That's not even the main issue, though. It's not even the main issue. The main issue is this, folks. No matter who you vote for, do you really think your employment options are going to get better? Do you think jobs are coming back to America? Do you think you're going to be able to afford health care? Some of you don't even have a fucking clue, a rat's ass about health care, and that's good. Good for you. You're healthy. Go and talk to your parents. Go and talk to some old people. Again, I said this before, ever since I wrote it in my healthcare book, 2009, America's Healthcare Solution. Probably the best healthcare book, U.S. healthcare book ever written, exposing everything. Banned, of course. And that is, most of the personal bankruptcies in America every year are due to medical bills. Think about that. Think about that. More than 50%. You don't believe me? That's Harvard research. Now, I'm pretty confident I haven't looked up that statistic in over a decade. And I'll guarantee you it hasn't changed. If anything, it's increased. You can look it up right now. Ask yourself why you're not hearing that as a primary talking point in our trusted media. I mean, when I say trusted media, don't think about, mainstream. No. You're hearing about it in alternative media? No. They're all frauds and cons, folks. Ad-based content is a fucking scam. Ad-based content means you're going to get fucked in the ass. Some of you out there might like that, but most people don't. Okay? I've been banned because I'm a world authority exposing the reality objectively on the U.S. Didn't do it for money. Wasn't linking it to selling gold or selling fucking doomsday food like all these alternative media fucking frauds. I did it because it was the right thing to do, and I'm paid the price. Even today, 20 years after I first wrote about this stuff, nobody knows about me. And during that time, every day there's more newbies coming positioned as experts, and they're fucking clueless idiots. And most people don't have a clue what's going on. They accept and believe these people. They don't even know that they're not credible. Because you people out there, you don't have the first idea, the most basic idea of how to even assess credibility. What makes someone qualified to talk about the shit they're talking about? It's that simple. Why is someone qualified? How are they qualified to be speaking on these topics? That's the fucking first question. Nobody asks that question ever. People have lost the ability to think critically. And this has been put forth in our educational system, in the internet. The whole internet has made everybody stupid. Folks, and I'm just telling you all, as a population, the truth. You're fucking stupid. I'm not smart. You all are stupid. 99.9% of the population is fucking really stupid. But it wasn't that way before. 20 years ago and before that, people weren't stupid. Not this stupid. It's been the internet. It's been the designed dumbing down of people. And so people can't make good decisions. You're easier to control. You understand? That's why they're doing this shit. And this is why people went through all these years and allowed all these things to happen. Only over the past few years, things accelerated at a faster pace so people could notice what was going on. But if you didn't notice these issues going on 20 years ago, 30 years ago, assuming you're of appropriate age, then you had your eyes closed. Because all these issues that you see today have been going on for decades. It didn't just start a few years ago. They opened the borders in America almost 60 years ago. And you look and see what's been going on. I mean, I'm not even going to get into it. It's too much to talk about. I've talked about it for years. I don't want to go down that path. Don't want to get distracted. But, folks, the fact is this. It's quite simple. It's very simple. Ask yourself. I mean, take a look at Trump. Did Trump build the wall? No. He didn't. He didn't build the wall. He didn't do it. Did Trump investigate Hillary? No. He didn't do it. Did Trump bring the jobs back? No. He didn't do it. But he did do the things that he actually meant to do, that he was paid to do. He cut taxes for his wealthy billionaire buddies. Got it? I mean, this is the way the game is played, folks. Harris wins. What do you think is going to happen? She's going to favor illegals. Okay? Either way, you're not going to win. You're not going to win. Nobody's going to bring the jobs back. Nobody's going to restructure healthcare to make it affordable and accessible instead of the criminally run industry that it is today and has been for a long time. These are the two things that matter the most. Your employment opportunities and your future generations of employment opportunities and your ability to have affordable, accessible medical care. That's it. That's it. And notice those aren't talking points. They're not primary talking points of any fucking elections. Read my fucking book and see. I don't get a goddamn penny out of it. Not a penny. Maybe now, 20 years later, some of you will be able to decipher the book, to understand a little bit about the book after all these things have happened, after it's basically been a fucking crystal ball. I mean, take a look at it. I mean, you judge for yourself. Predicted all this stuff. Warned about trade. The only person that was doing so, truly, 20 years ago, I warned about all these things. I wrote about illegal immigration. There were things that I didn't write about that I wanted to, and I whitewashed a lot of stuff, hoping the book not to get banned. It was still banned. Folks, don't be stupid. The best vote you can make actually is not to vote. When you vote, you're supporting a criminal democratic process. You're saying, I agree with the system. It's a good system. Not voting shows that you realize it's not going to help. It's a scam. That's the best vote you can make. I've always said this. And of course, what you're going to get is you're going to get the low IQ responses. Well, if you don't vote, you don't have a right to criticize. Well, if you don't vote for Trump, Harris is going to win. Those are stupid arguments. That's what they want you to do. That's how they want you to think. The media has injected these stupid ideas into your head. Zionist shills like Sean Hannity, uneducated fucking loser. If you don't vote, you can't criticize. Right? These same neocons in the media who brainwash you constantly, telling you that you should support Israel. Israel's the only democracy in that part of the world. Who cares? Who cares? I don't care. Doesn't matter. Doesn't fucking matter. What matters is you don't have a fucking decent job. What matters is you can't see how you're going to ever retire. Because you're being squeezed everywhere you turn. You got it? Wait until you have a big medical issue. More than 50% of personal bankruptcies every year are due to the inability to pay medical bills. So some people are going to say, oh, well, they didn't have medical insurance. That's their problem. That's what you get. Guess what? Approximately 75% of those who file for medical bankruptcy, this is based upon stats from many years ago, so the numbers might change a little bit. They're not going to change radically, I can guarantee you that. More than 75% of those Americans who file for medical bankruptcy every year actually had full medical insurance. Why do you think they don't, folks? Why do you think I've been banned? They don't want you to know this stuff. I wrote about it 16 years ago. Think about that for a second. And that will give you a hint as to the scam in the insurance industry, especially the health insurance industry. If you think that you got medical insurance and you're paying a copay, you've been swindled. If you got a copay, you don't have insurance. Okay? Especially when you're in a country where the medical system doesn't give you any price transparency. Oh, you think you're covered? You got a 10% copay, 20% copay? I mean, forget about your deductible. $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, that doesn't matter. When you got a 20% copay, 15% copay, even 10% copay, you know what a copay is, right? You're paying 10% of that bill, 20% of that bill, and you think you're okay. I can afford 20%. Really? Well, maybe you should look into the fucking cost of cancer. You see, they don't want to tell you what it costs for anything. And of course, this is part of the problem with Americans. They're so fucking ignorant. They don't understand what goes on in other countries other than what they see in their Hollywood scripted media. Because they haven't lived in other countries. So they don't know that many countries actually have price lists that they show you what a procedure costs in advance. You see? Do you really think things are going to get better for you? The only way they're going to get better is if you become a fucking criminal. You become a scammer, like all these people on YouTube. Just scamming people. But in terms of opportunities, it continues to dwindle every year. That's a fact. If you're an American-born citizen, your job opportunities continue to dwindle every single year. That is a fact, guaranteed fact. And nobody in the world will be able to debate me on that and win. It's fact. Every year, your employment opportunities, your career opportunities continue to dwindle. Whether we're talking about different careers shrinking, going away, or whether we're talking about those salaries shrinking or not keeping pace with inflation. Why do you think, and some of you are just too fucking young to even know what the hell's going on. That's the problem. That's part of the problem. So a lot of these examples you don't even understand, but I mean, why do you think these careers, I mean, you have careers now. People that are actively involved in careers like dog walking, pet grooming, fitness trainers, right? I wrote about this shit 20 years ago. This shit didn't exist before. Why does it exist now? Because, number one, this is the type of thing that you have in developing countries and corrupt countries, where you've got a very small percentage of the very, very wealthy, and then you have the masses of impoverished or not so wealthy. Let's call them poor. In those countries, you're going to see what? You have maid services all over the place. You've got, everything. You've got drivers, right? You're seeing more of that gradually creep into the U.S. society. Okay? So all this is an impact of the wealth and income disparity, which I wrote about pretty good detail 20 years ago, before anybody had an idea about it. And then, of course, as I mentioned, after the financial crisis, by about 2011, these academic economists were writing books and papers on it, and they were seen as geniuses after it was already obvious. Fucking clowns. Because of course, they had the right last name. They're geniuses. Let's promote them. They can sell books and make money and give speeches and be paid for that. You got it? Mass discrimination by a criminally insane, parasitic fucking mafia. That's the problem of the world today, and it's been the problem of the world for a very long time, folks. But if you talk about it, you're a racist. That's the main fucking problem in the world. If this mafia just got the fuck away, left every country with it for which they have invaded and ruined and corrupted, if they just got the fuck left and went to their illegal country, everybody would be a lot better off. But you see, it's about exploitation. You see? I could just talk for days on end without stopping. You could just take a look at Argentina. A complete fucking disaster. And let me remind you all, for those of you who don't know, that's the country where Doug Casey, the gold pumping fucking con man, was telling everybody in 2010, you got to escape to Argentina. Escape the collapse in America. Get out of the stock market. Take your dollars and come to Argentina. And you better buy Argentinian currency and get out of the dollar. And he wanted to sell you fucked up real estate, overpriced fucked up real estate in a drug zone, sold to Argentina. Of course, Argentina's in hyperinflation, has been in hyperinflation for several years now, has defaulted on their IMF loans at least 4 times now. It's a complete fucking shit show. But what happened? What happened to Argentina? Why are they so fucked? Because they had foreign invaders, aliens, take over their government, took over their finance ministry, made decisions, critical decisions for how they were going to finance their expenditures and who they were going to go to obtain that financing. Got it? I can't really tell you the details. I can't say certain things because this is, it's going to get banned. You want to see who runs these fucking countries? Take a close look. I'm going to tell you now a little secret. All you got to do is take a look. Take a look at Latin America. Who are the finance ministers? Who are the economic ministers? And take a look where they've been educated. Folks, they're educated in America. You understand? They're educated by the fucking mafia. It's all one big clusterfuck. And they're part of the mafia, by the way. You can take a look at any of these countries. I'm not saying every single one of these guys. But most of them, well, I can't say most of them were educated in America, but many of them were. The typical cabal institutions, to spread the typical bullshit. So you're going to see a lot of the University of Chicago, Harvard, stuff like that. So when they go back to their country, you understand they're in sync with the central banking system, the whole finance system. And this is why their countries get fucked, because they end up borrowing money from parasites who want their money. When problems occur, they default on their debt. What happens? They start confiscating property, like Elliott Management did. Mr. Paul Singer got it, like he did with Argentina. Folks, you're not going to hear about this stuff. Who do you think is financing these criminals? The criminals you're looking at right here. For the official record, because this is something I've told people for many years, let me go ahead and state for the official record. Every single politician in America, well, let me just kind of restrict this to Washington politicians, not the state, although probably you could say that because they're part of the whole cabal as well. Every single politician in Washington from the past 30 years easily, 30 years at least, definitely 30 years, should be either in prison rotting or whatever the sentence is for treason. I'm not sure if that's the death penalty or not. They're guilty of treason. Do you understand that? Every single politician from at least the past 30 years from Washington in America is guilty of treason. These politicians have sold you out. They have sold America out. Do you understand that? This is not radical. This is factual. They sold America out. You might think it's a radical statement because you're not hearing it elsewhere. You see, most people, because of their simpleton mentality, the more they hear something, the more they think it's valid, the more they're comfortable with it, the more they think it's true, without actually thinking about things, looking at the factual basis, the logic. They don't do that. So let's look at the factual basis. Let's consider the logic of my statement. Treason? Why treason? What happened? Number one, America is a proxy state. It's run by Israel, right? America's basically run by Israel in the interest of Israel. That's a problem. You ever wondered why the war crimes terrorist Benjamin Netanyahu always gets more standing ovations when he comes to Congress and speaks than the president gets? Folks, they're all on the payroll of Israel and the Israelis in America. That's just a fact. That's why you're seeing all these things go on. We have no business giving any money to Israel, to Ukraine, or anybody else. It's fucking bullshit. That's a waste of your tax dollars. But even more important, the reason why these Washington politicians are guilty of treason for the past 30 years at least. They allowed corporate America to send your jobs overseas. You understand that? Do you understand that this doesn't happen elsewhere? Now, unfortunately, it's like a virus now. It's happening more and more now. But prior to America doing this, no other country would do this. Still today, in many countries, if it happens, people will hit the streets, they'll riot. You understand that, right? It's still illegal to outsource in some countries. It should be. Why would any political leader of a country send jobs? You know, jobs, the ability to earn an income, to put food on your table. Why would they send that ability, that opportunity for their citizens to another country? They're traitors. Washington officials have allowed this practice for decades. They've committed treason on America and Americans, and you're not hearing about it. It's treason. Even today, all the things going on, the geopolitical issues, especially in the South China Sea with China, the best excuse to say, hey, you know what? All the facilities are leaving China. Now, think about it. Apple, some of you suckers out there, you probably own a dumb phone, an Apple dumb phone. It's not just Apple. Any dumb phone you buy, it's going to be out of China, made in China. Every time you buy your iPhone, you're sending money to China to build up their military. And it's all a big game, because the more they build up their military, the more the U.S. has to fund its military. So, you're just supporting the military. You're supporting U.S. military, China military. What are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? Today, you don't hear anyone say, wait a second, why haven't we pulled our manufacturing facilities out of China? It's a national security threat. We are helping China finance its military during a period when China is becoming hostile. No one says anything about that. Why? You got it, people? If you vote, you're a fucking dummy. I voted one time in my life when it mattered, when I had a choice. Once again, when Ross Perot ran for president against Bill Clinton. Ross Perot was against NAFTA. He warned everybody about NAFTA. And you see the mess that it's created, which I wrote about 20 years ago. This is why you have a homeless crisis in America. This is why you have a drug crisis in America, because you don't have the job opportunities that you used to have. That's the fact. This is why you have casinos in almost every state, which you didn't have 30 years ago. You had Las Vegas and you had a couple of Indian reservations. This is why you have lottos, a lottery that exceeds $1 billion on occasion. You understand? Because people don't have the career opportunities they used to have, because corporate America sold them out. They sent your jobs overseas to make more money for their investors. Their investors aren't you. You're not an investor. You're not benefiting when Apple sends its jobs overseas, when Microsoft sends its jobs over. You think you're benefiting? You got 100 fucking shares? You got 1,000 shares? So fucking what? That's nothing. The detriment in your life due to Apple and all these other countries sending their jobs overseas ain't going to be compensated by your 100 shares of Apple stock or 200 shares or whatever. Because not only are we talking about a loss of many, many jobs, we're also talking about what you're going to have to pay as a taxpayer for welfare for people that don't have a job. Okay. Voting locally is a waste. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. You think it does. It doesn't matter. They're all in the mafia. They're there to do and say whatever they can to get promoted to Washington. They're part of the criminal syndicate. The local politicians are the same. That's a fact. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. If it mattered, why don't you have politicians abolish property taxes? Property taxes, you never hear anyone criticize property taxes. That's the most criminal tax in existence. Federal income taxes, and of course you hear people, they've got movements to go against federal income taxes. Oh, you don't pay. Why? Hey, dummies, wake the fuck up. Who do you think funds these campaigns? The rich people. All the media talking heads and all the minions that follow them talk about how federal income, oh, you can't pay. And you had frauds like Irwin Schiff make a small fortune. His whole career was selling people the idea that they didn't have to pay federal income taxes. That's Peter Schiff's dad. Seems like, father like son. They seem pretty fucking similar. Conning people with fucking horse shit. Some people, folks, don't want to do real work. Some people, you know who the clan is that doesn't want to fucking work. They want to scam you and lie and engage in all types of fucking trickery and bullshit. They don't want to do real work. And then you look at who's promoted as the experts, the blabbermouths. They could just blabber and sell books, and you invest in their companies that they start based upon their media celebrity status. You got it? You see what's going on? The reason why you don't hear about anybody criticizing property taxes, and I talked about this 20 years ago, because the rich people are the ones paying the money. Folks, it's ad-based content. Ad-based content going to fuck you. Who do you think pays the bills of all these people in the media who are brainwashing you with stupid ideas? The rich people. The rich people tell you, and they tell the media guys to talk about federal income taxes. Why? Because that's what impacts them the most. That's why you had Trump lower the taxes on the wealthy when they didn't need to be lowered. The wealthy need their taxes fucking doubled. Okay, that's what needs to happen. Doubled. They want to pay for all these fucking wars that don't involve us. They want to throw all this money away on the Department of Defense when it's not needed. And then they want to take money from your Social Security and Medicare, mandatory benefits, mandated by fucking law. They want to take that away. Don't want to take money away from Israel and Ukraine. I say you tax the fucking wealthy then. You want to fund that shit, you tax the wealthy. Because who do you think most of those wealthy people are? They're the same people who want you taxpayers to send your money over to Israel and Ukraine. You let them pay the fucking bill. And these wealthy people are the ones who've also have defrauded people. They've defrauded Americans. They've defrauded businesses to make all their money in many ways. They're fucking crooks. That's a whole other topic of discussion. But I mean, the most simple example you can look at is Elon Musk. His self-driving fraud, manipulating Tesla stock, right? Through all these bogus statements, nothing happens to him because, you know. But listen to me. You don't hear about property taxes. That's the most ridiculous, insane tax in the world. That's why nobody had property taxes but America. And now it's spreading like a virus all throughout the world. Of course, you have them in Europe now. But these other countries now are starting to have them. China's experimenting with them. I mean, China. I mean, come on. You think China is like a advanced country? China's a fucking developing country. Property taxes are a tax on working and middle class people. You're taxed. Think about this for a second. And once again, this little discussion here is a response to anybody that thinks that you should vote locally. And I'm proving to you why it's a joke. Just like voting for anybody in Washington. Okay? Your local officials, city and state, they determine property taxes. Okay? They determine your property taxes. Mainly, I would say it's the city, the municipal, right? Yet, what happens to property taxes? I don't know. It seems to me there's a trend, and they're always just going up. Today, I would say probably there's some examples, but back when I wrote this book, there was only one example, to my knowledge, of a situation whereby an asset other than homes was taxed every year, even if you didn't sell it. And that was the state of California with their auto tax. Today, I mean, I can't even believe it. I just remember thinking to myself, how ridiculous, how communist is California assessing a tax on the value of your automobile every year. Yet today, you look around in many states, many, if not, well, not all states, but many states have that tax now. Do people complain? Do they protest? Do they riot? No. It's the typical American way. Fucking idiots. Stupid fucking idiots. Meanwhile, in Brazil, they raise bus prices and people hit the streets and rioting. So you all have been dumbed down and conditioned not to fucking riot. The media controls your mind. You don't even fucking realize it. The media controls your goddamn mind. And that's more so in America than any other country in the world. So I said, you're all fucking brainwashed. You have no fucking idea what's going on. Even in Europe, people will protest on things. They'll get out there, and I'm not talking about stupid shit. Like in America, what they protest. Like, what are they protesting? Oh, they stole the election. Oh, our democracies. And oh, civil rights. Oh. Folks, we're talking about important shit. Your ability to survive. Right? Your ability to survive. Why aren't you protesting the criminally insane healthcare mafia that's fucking everybody, that's extorting money out of people? Why aren't you protesting property taxes? See that? See, the rich don't care about property taxes. It's a minuscule amount of money that they pay versus federal income taxes. You understand? Property taxes are a very unfair tax on working and middle class Americans because they pay a much, much higher proportion of their income in property taxes than the wealthy. Why should you have to pay the government every fucking year for the right to maintain, to continue to own, or claim ownership anyway, of your home? You haven't sold it. Why? Anybody ever asked that question? What other asset does that occur with? And of course, as I said, these days, hell, who knows? I'm not paying attention to America anymore, really. Those issues, I don't have to deal with it. Of course, they have the cars now. You got to pay a percentage of the appraised value of the car. Didn't have that before. California was the only state that had that. Now, many states. Ask yourself, what type of scam is that? And you want to vote for local officials because you think it's important? Well, Show me some local officials that want to get rid of this property tax. And then you can vote for them. Until that happens, you're wasting your fucking time. It doesn't matter. You're trying. You've got confirmation bias. Again, show me an official that wants to eliminate property taxes. Eliminate. It's an unfair, criminally insane, extortionist tax. Eliminate the property tax. Look in the mirror and realize what's going on. Wake the fuck up and free yourself from the mind control. Voting is a way to keep you enslaved. Not voting is a way to wake up the world. Everyone looks at America and says, wow, no one's voting. Wow, the percentage is down. What's going on with America's democracy? That's what you do. Why do you think all these figureheads every year they come out and tell you should go out and vote, make sure and go out and vote, make sure and go out and vote? You ever wonder why they do that? They're not doing that to get you to exercise your right. They're doing that because they want the world to see that the voting numbers are high. If the voting numbers are low, people start to wonder what the fuck is going on in America. That's the reality. Okay? You all don't seem to understand how the system works. The states and the federal government, they're all in the same bed together. That's fact. Property taxes are a huge scam. And they shouldn't have property taxes. The only tax they could even claim legitimately would be capital gains tax once you sell your property. I mean, you people out there, you're paying fucking property tax every year just to own your home. You're fucking stupid. You're goddamn stupid. I remember I told this to some genius professor of economics. And he told me, well, how is the government going to have enough money for public services? The same way governments in other countries that don't have property taxes pay for public services. It's called sales fucking tax. Sales tax. Okay? You don't price working and middle class people out of their homes. Do you all understand why old people, the main reason why old people move out of their houses when they're old? Do you understand why they scale down? The main reason, it's financial. They can't afford the property taxes anymore. You all realize that? It's probably one of the best kept hidden secrets in America. Do you all realize that? Let me do some simple math here. Everybody understand a mortgage? A mortgage has a purpose. It allows you to budget paying for an item, your home, right? You're paying the same price every month for your home, your mortgage, every year until that mortgage is paid off, right? Guess what? Let's say you have a 30-year mortgage. And let's just say, let's keep it, let's say you're paying $2,000 a month. Okay? After 30 years, let's just go ahead and say you're paying 3%. 3% property taxes. Right? Your home value is going to go up. And let's keep the numbers round. $100,000 these days is just, we can't use that as an assumption. It's too low. let's say $1 million to keep the numbers round. 3%, 30 grand, some minor deductions, let's say for age, other things. Let's call it $25,000. That's $25,000 a year for property tax. Okay. After 30 years, how much do you think that home is going to be worth? What do you think? 2 million? 3 million? 4 million? 4 million is possible. If the home appreciated as it should be worth probably about 2.3 million, something along that lines. But chances are it's going to be worth more. It depends upon when you're selling it. Let's just say, let's call it 3 million. Okay. Well, guess what? What are your property taxes now? Huh? Do the math per year. You got it? Older people are priced out of their homes because the mortgage doesn't go up, but the property taxes keep going up as the value of the home goes up, which also addresses the scam of the appraisal districts. I know this very well. They all know me very well in Texas. I've got stories on that. They treated me like a god. They were fucking worshiping me over there. After I predicted the financial crisis. See, I'll go ahead and tell the story. Property prices were getting out of control before the financial crisis, a couple of years before. So each year, you get your property tax statement. What happens is this, folks. Most people, it's a psychological thing. Most people don't realize. What happens every year? You get your property tax assessment, and what do you see? Oh, wow, great. My home's worth $1 million this year. You feel good. It was worth only $900,000 last year, and now it's worth $1 million. Got a higher tax bill. Oh, that sucks, but you feel good because your home's worth more. They tell you it's worth more. It's a psychological ploy. Okay, is it really worth $1 million? That's the key question. Most people don't even understand the whole process and the appraisals of your home, how it's done. It's all done, well, not all, but I can't speak for every municipality, but I know for a fact. I mean, I was working with an individual who was actually, it's a startup company back in the early 2000s, who was launching and working with appraisal districts on selling software to determine home values. And so I'm sure probably these days, I would have to imagine all of them use software to determine the appraisal. But anyway, the point is that it's in the best interest of each city, of each municipality, because that's how it's done. It's by municipal, not city, by the individual municipality of the cities. It's in their best interest to give you a higher estimate of your home than it actually is. Just like the same thing for insurance companies, right? It's in their best interest. They're going to make more money if their estimate for replacement cost is higher, right? Because they're going to make more money, right? In the case of the appraisal district, it's a tax. It's a percentage. So you're going to feel good because it's worth more. But guess what? If you go through a period where housing prices are artificially high, and let's say that period's 3 years, guess what? You're paying a lot more money than you should be because your house is not really worth that much. It's just worth that much right now because of that artificial period, that bubble. But you're not selling your house during that period. You may not sell your house until 10 years from now when that period of the bubble period is gone. guess what? You can't claw back those taxes. You can't get them back. You see? So back a few years before the financial crisis, let's say 2005, 2006, 2007, I would go to the appraisal district every year and contest my taxes. Okay, you can do that, but you have to understand a lot of things. You have to put a good argument, and you have to know the system. And it takes time and effort, which, most people don't even know they can contest it. They don't feel like they can do it. They don't know what they're doing. That's why they have services that do this. Pretty good business, actually, for those looking for a career in America, because there's not a whole lot of fucking decent careers out there in terms of small business you can do. So I went to the appraisal district and I said, listen, this price is ridiculous. It's not correct. We're in a bubble. Okay? We're in a housing bubble. And I guess by 2007, I had my books already written, published. I had to publish on my own. Not self-published. There's a difference. Self-publishing, you're going to a third party. I formed my own publishing company. I published it direct, which is very rare. People don't do that. I took my book, Cashing Into the Real Estate Bubble. It was a smaller book, simple to read, focused on the real estate. And I gave a couple of copies. I said, look, here's the evidence. I said, we're going to see a fucking collapse. Okay, guess what happened? I go back, 2008, 2009. These people are treating me like Jesus Christ. And you better believe, from then on, they undercut my taxes. Okay? True story. Think about that, folks. You're paying a tax every year just so you can keep your house. And if you don't pay that tax, guess what happens? The government will confiscate your house, your condo, your property. Do you really think that you own your property in a country where you have property taxes? If you do, you're fucking delusional. Because that tax can never go away. You can never eliminate that tax. You're always paying. But the mortgage, you can pay it off. You never have to pay another dime once you paid off that house. But guess what? Property taxes never end, and they continue to go higher and higher and higher every year as the value of your property increases. How come you don't hear this? I mean, all you got to do, I wrote about this in the real estate chapter, which is freely available from America's Financial Apocalypse, about the cost of owning a house. Once you factor in all the costs, you really don't make much money in general. But of course, the whole real estate industry wants to tell you all this bullshit, all these fucking fraudsters. Anyone out there selling real estate program services, they're a fucking fraud. They're cons. Write it the fuck down. Guaranteed. Fact. They're all frauds. There's no fucking secrets. Okay? So, think about it, folks. You're getting fucked. Property taxes are the most unfair tax ever created. You're paying the government a tax every year in order to maintain ownership of an asset that you've already paid for or you're already paying for. Right? Do you really think that you own your home when you're paying the property tax. You don't own that home. You understand what country you're living in now? You're living in a communist country. You don't own the property. You got it? And most of you, depending upon where you live, what state you live in, if you're in America, you don't even own your fucking car. That's how bad it's gotten, because you're paying a property tax on your car every year. Folks, why do you think I've been banned? Do you understand now? If I had exposure to talk to people on a daily basis, to wake up the masses, what do you think would happen? People would actually stop and think, and they would protest these criminal taxes. Remember, federal income tax is legitimate. The only problem with the taxes where they're going. That's the problem that I have. Right? How they're spending the tax money. It's being fucking wasted. Okay? That's the only problem. But they're legitimate. I don't have a problem with that. But you're always hearing people protest and talk about the federal income tax. Why? Because it's the wealthy people who pay off the talking heads to brainwash you with that shit, because the wealthy people are the ones who are paying big money for federal income taxes. Well, not all of them. A lot of them get away with not paying any taxes. Property taxes, they don't give a shit about. That's nothing for them. You see? As I've always said, Americans have been brainwashed by the media, the ad-based media, to dig their own fucking graves. And just about every single American out there, you think you're different, you're not. You've gotten your ideas based upon some fucking talking head that's brainwashed you with disinformation. You don't even know what the fuck is going on. I'm telling you right now. Whether it's healthcare or income taxes or whatever, they've told you these stupid ideas, and you're actually advocating for things that's causing you to dig your own fucking grave. It's not in your best interests, but they've convinced you that it is. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to close this up, folks, and I'm going to cover this person right now. It's interesting. Somebody asked about, let's see. Here we go. Catherine Austin Fitts. Been meaning to cover her, this crackpot, for a long time. Gold pumping, disinformation, con artist. That's what she is. Catherine, you know who the fuck I am. You're a con artist. You're a fraud. You can go fuck yourself. I'm going to cover her here. I'm going to expose this lady. Okay? And I'm going to explain to you how it all works, her whole MO. Because once you understand enough of these MOs of these fucking frauds, you understand there's only so many MOs that they go by, right? They all have a little spin, right? Her spin, her little MO is kind of like Chris Martenson. The yoga, kind of throwing religion out there. She uses a multitude of things. She pushes religion. She pushes the whole investment thing. And it's kind of like, okay, if you're advising people in investments, when I look at your website, all I want to see is show me all the investment stuff. Show me, what have you done? I don't want to read about sustaining a healthier life and all this bullshit. That's a con. She tries to lure in all these fucking tree huggers. You understand? That's what Chris Martenson tries to do. Because she can't cut it. Remember, folks, I'm the guy who detailed the financial crisis in 2 books and showed you how to make a fortune. Not just shorting the subprimes. Show me another book that was written a person recommended shorting the subprimes and the banks and the home builders? Nobody. Nothing. In fact, just show me a goddamn fucking book where someone recommends shorting anything. I'll be happy to see that. Okay. But I also recommended shorting the government-backed, right, infallible GSCs, Fannie and Freddie, because I knew the whole fucking system was going to collapse. I don't recommend shorting stocks. It's very rare. I don't do it. When I do it, it means it's not good. The two times I've ever recommended shorting stocks, there's two periods that I've done it. Okay? And they were fundamental calls based upon my fundamental analysis. The first time was the financial crisis. I mean, this is the greatest call ever made in history of the investment world, what I did. You all know that, right? You all do know that. If you need the media to tell you that, what the greatest call was, then you're a fucking dipshit. The greatest call in the history of the financial world was my financial crisis predictions. The specific ones you can see on my profile, those archive.org. That's the greatest. No one can come close to that. Some may say, well, Mike, I don't know. I think the greatest call was when you recommended NVIDIA as the number one stock for long-term growth in 2009. Boom! Someone else may say, well, Mike, I think the greatest call was when you wrote in a book based upon your fundamental analysis. You essentially predicted Blockbuster Video would go bankrupt to short it and to go long Netflix. Boom! I could go on and fucking on and on. Shorting stocks, nobody should short a stock unless they know what they're doing. Okay? If you want to short a stock, you buy puts. That's the best way to do it. But the 99.99% of the time, people should never. I mean, keep in mind, find me an instance where I've ever recommended shorting anything other than Blockbuster, which went bankrupt, and all the stocks from the financial crisis, which either went bankrupt or lost, 95%. Right? So when I say people should not short stocks, you're going to have you recommend shorting some low IQ fucking moron response. No. That's different. Okay? People should not short stocks. I don't short stocks. You shouldn't short stocks. Anybody that does it's a goddamn fool. Because you don't know what you're getting into. Okay? I'm qualified to make a call telling people to short a stock. I'm a Wall Street insider. And the reason why I'm qualified, obviously, so I just told you I'm a Wall Street insider, but that's also why I wouldn't recommend people that short stocks, because I understand the risks. I understand the problem. See, the problem most people make, they think because they think a stock is going to go down. If I say, well, this stock is probably headed down, that doesn't mean you should short the stock just because you think it's going to go down. Right? In other words, just because the stock is going to go down doesn't mean you're going to make money shorting the stock. You have to understand your strategy. That's why there's only been 2 times where I recommended shorting a stock. I put it in a fucking book. I thought they were going under, bankrupt or damn close. That's how sure I was. And by the way, if you can find another instance of that where somebody is so sure something's going to zero, they write it in a book. I mean, show me an instance that's ever happened in world history. You understand? Shorting is a short-term strategy. A short-term strategy that often flips on you, right? It can flip on you. You understand? If you put it in a book, then you can't erase it. You understand? That's why you've never seen anybody write in a book about shorting a stock. Because during the time they think you can short it, okay, but what happens 2 years later? Somebody buys the book 2 years later and the stock can be 3 times higher and you look like an idiot. You understand what I'm saying? That's why you're never going to see anybody else other than me write in a book about shorting stocks. Because those stocks that I wrote about, I thought they were going to go bankrupt. And what happened? Boom! Okay, you got it? Short seller funds, they're just fucking stock manipulators. Fucking stock manipulators is all they are. They're all fucking bullshit. Folks, if you want to short a stock, if you think a company is in trouble, you don't need the public to help you pile in onto your trade. Okay? That's why I say, just like Bill Ackman and all these other guys, they need the public to help their trade because that's their strategy. That's their investment strategy. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Okay? If you know what you're doing, you don't need the public to move your fucking trades. That's what all these trading, well, not all of them, but that's what a lot of these trading fake gurus do. They get you in their little trading community and they tell you a penny stock and they tell you to buy it. They've already bought it. They're not telling you that. They get the dummies that pay subscriptions for their fucking trading chat rooms to pump up their stocks. They sell the stock at the top and then they tell you to sell it after they've already sold it. That's the oldest scam going on. Okay, you understand? Anyway, we're gonna go now with Catherine Austin Fitts, new stream. Just a reminder: if you vote, you're a damn fool. Okay, because voting is not going to ever change the things that you need to change. Locally, local voting is a waste. Okay? Until you have politicians that want to eliminate the property tax, you don't need to vote. Right? That's what matters. Why are you paying a property tax? Biggest fucking scam out there is a property tax. No one talks about it. It's a huge scam. Okay? A huge fucking scam. You can pay for city services. They can be funded by a value-added tax, a VAT. Okay? It's that simple. Presidential election, elections for Congress, it's all a scam. These people aren't going to bring your jobs back. They're not going to bring the facilities back to America. You understand that? They're not going to make healthcare affordable and reasonable. Those are the two big problems America faces. Do you really think that the people behind all the corporations, behind the healthcare system, are going to allow this to happen? No, they're not going to. Understand, millions of jobs have been transferred overseas by U.S. corporations. And Congress allowed it. It's treason. That is treason. Do you understand that? And now we have a national security problem because of decades of outsourcing to China. Yet there's no call to bring the companies back, the facilities back. Why? Why is that? Okay? You're voting for what? What are you voting for? One person's going to send more of your money, a lot more of your money to Israel and Ukraine, and cut taxes for the rich. The other person is going to send not as much money to Israel and Ukraine, but still a hell of a lot. And it's going to give your tax money to poor people and illegals. I don't see much of a difference there. Neither of these motherfuckers, now and in the future, are ever going to bring the jobs back, are ever going to make healthcare affordable. So why are you going to vote? Why are you going to vote? You got it? Why do you think I was banned, folks? The two top issues, the two overwhelming themes in America's Financial Apocalypse, the original extended version in 2006, the two overlying themes throughout the entire book. I predicted the financial crisis primarily in the real estate chapter. I talked about some things as well later on when I predicted the Dow would hit 6,500. That's right, chapter 17. I mean, this is just fucking magical. I should win a fucking Nobel Prize from that book. But the overwhelming themes of the book, right? Themes, in other words, things that were pressing and would last a long time, that were not an imminent, that did not cause, they were not threatening to cause an imminent collapse, but a chronic decline. The number one issue was trade of that book. The number two issue was healthcare. Trade and healthcare. You understand? That's why I was banned, folks. I exposed the true nature of America. I exposed the criminal nature of executive stock options, legalized insider trading. All these executives are engaging in legalized insider trading, stock options. It's a fucking scam. You better get to know me. See what I've exposed. Read the article on the cryptocurrencies. Folks, I tell the truth. Nobody can refute anything I publish. And I'm not talking about my research. I'm talking about how the world works. Because I spend most of my time and effort exposing everything. The political system, the economic system, all the fraud, the crooks. That takes a lot of time. But that's actually the easiest stuff. You know why? It's cut and dry. You're not trying to predict anything. You're reporting on what is going on now and what has happened. You understand? And when you have an expertise of understanding a high level of the capital markets, economic system, obviously you're going to be positioned to understand, identify the criminals, right? Once again, I exposed Wall Street committing fraud to create the financial crisis. I wrote it in a book. I wrote about the credit rating agencies rubber stamping mortgage-backed securities, junk bonds into investment grade. How do you think I knew Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac would go bankrupt and require a taxpayer bailout? Think about it. The more you learn about this, the more detail, the more time you put, you're gonna see what's going on. Okay, that's what I'm saying, folks. That's what I'm talking about. See, people just don't know because they listen to the media, they listen to all this bullshit, they think they know what's going on. They don't know. Okay, I know what's going on. I was banned for a reason. I continue to be banned for a reason. Think about it even now. I'm out of the ScamTube algorithm, right? I'm exposing all these frauds on ScamTube. I'm exposing the ScamTube criminal operation. I mean, you think that's going to get me anywhere? I'm telling the facts. It's truth. True. But by the way, let me just mention one thing before I end this. Grant Cardone paid to speak at Trump's rally. And it's a disgusting thing because Grant Cardone, Grant, you're a con man. Write it the fuck down. You are a con man. That's right. You know you are. You make false claims in order to sell your shit to stupid people. But you see, the problem is, folks, Grant Cardone, now you see, now he paid money to make him look legitimate. Oh, he spoke in the Trump campaign. People don't know. This is what a sleazeball you're dealing with Trump. He doesn't care that this is helping him. Folks, all these people are whores. I talked about Mark Cuban did the same thing. He got paid by Ty Lopez to do an interview. Oh, Mark Cuban is credible. He's a billionaire. And Ty Lopez must be credible. The problem is people don't realize Mark Cuban is not credible. He's a money-worshipping fucking loser. Okay? All these people, they have their folks. This is why you got to identify money worshippers. They will put their fucking hand out and do anything for a buck. Anything. Doesn't matter. Don't think, oh, well, they got plenty of money. No, they don't. Money worshippers never have enough money. And they got a low price tag on their forehead. Right? Kevin O'Leary, another money worshiper, was charging people $1,000 to basically endorse their company on video. Didn't know the company, didn't matter. You have a scam company, he's going to give you a shout out. I'm going to give a shout out using his celebrity media status. You understand? Celebrity media status to influence the dummies out there. The idiots who don't realize that if you're in the media, you're a scammer or you're not credible. If you're in the media constantly, if you're making kind of a name as a media person, you're not credible, you're a scammer. Write it down. That's a fact. You got it? That's the way it works. That's why they're spending their time in the media. They're trying to create a celebrity status from the media so that you think they're credible, so they can launch their businesses. Trump is the king of that. Trump is the beginning of that. He's the first guy to do that. You know that, right? Trump did all this shit 40 years ago. Why do you think he's got all these businesses? He puts his name on them. He uses his media celebrity status. He's been doing this for a long time. He doesn't have any real fucking businesses, basically. Or any of the businesses he has, he bought, built, from the money he made licensing his fucking name out. Right? Just like his real estate, most of that shit's not his. He licenses his fucking name on. Trump Tower, all that shit. He licensed his name. Using his celebrity media status. Do you got it? Do you understand? Same thing with these fucking YouTube scammers. They're using the little media celebrity status on YouTube to pitch you their bullshit. You think they're credible because you see a face and you, oh, okay, I feel comfortable. I like the guy. Oh, okay, I'm going to invest because you're fucking stupid. Why do you think Grant Cardone built his business on YouTube? Specifically came to YouTube to do it because all the dummies are on YouTube. And now you've got dummies that think Grant Cardone, him paying whatever he paid to speak at Trump's campaign is going to be a great investment for him. Because now he first of all, he's going to reel in all the Trump supporters, right? And then he's going to say, well, look, I'm credible. No, you're not. John Ledger's right. John Ledger, fuck, good on him. Good on John Ledger. Fucking love it. And the thing is that you see what these scammers don't know. You can tell how stupid a scammer is. Here's how you can tell. If you really got a scammer and you got someone who really knows they're a scammer, like an expert, and that person wants to sue the person to shut them up so they won't expose them. But here's what happens. An expert, say like me, for instance, I'm going to go to court. I'm going to get discovery on you, and I'm going to expose the fuck out of you and destroy your business, and then we're going to get the FTC to sue you, and then we're going to encourage and show people how to create class action lawsuits to sue you. So these people, the scammers, the best thing they can do is they can shut their fucking mouths and endure the criticism. Grant Cardone should have shut his fucking mouth, because what's going to happen now, he's going to get discovery, the discovery process, and it's going to prove that he's a fucking con man. And he's going to have some problems. That's my guess. The last thing a con man who's got a lot of exposure wants to do is to threaten to sue anybody. Because you see, they're making all their money conning the masses. The worst thing they can do is to go after somebody who's sharp and isn't going to back down. Because that person's going to prove with the disclosure, they're going to get a lot of disclosure in the discovery process. You see, you can subpoena all types of information and evidence, you see, to prove everything. You see, that's what's going to happen. You see. So you got Grant Cardone now. He's going to use that to reel in more fucking idiots. You got a guy who claims he owns $4 billion in real estate. Absolute 100% lie. He's doing that as a way to sell his fucking products. That makes him guilty of engaging in marketing fraud. You see? You don't own $4 billion in real estate, Grant Cardone. You're not a fucking billionaire. And you don't own $4 billion. That may be money that you're managing. That's not what you own. And you got that money from a bunch of stupid fucking people who are getting shitty returns on their investment, are too stupid to realize it. I don't have the facts, but as I said before, I'd be surprised if his net returns are more than 6%. They're probably not more than 5%, which is fucking shitty. They may even be lower than that. But you see, you're dealing with, this is the advantage of going after, catering to, marketing to stupid people. Stupid people don't know what they should be getting. Stupid people are too dumb to realize they're being swindled. Stupid people are too dumb to even read a fucking private placement memorandum to see, exactly what they're paying for, exactly what they're getting themselves into. And this is why the SEC, the criminal fucking mafia, which is part, the SEC is part of that, they passed these new laws to allow people like Cardone, Kevin Pathrath, market to dummies their investments. It's criminal what's going on. That law should be fucking banned, should be revoked. It's basically created a license to steal by exploiting stupid people.